Have you ever wondered why your life feels cluttered, even when you've done everything right? You follow routines, meet obligations, and strive to be a good person. Yet something still feels off. Like a low hum beneath every moment, a restlessness that no success can silence. It isn't chaos from the outside world that drains you. It's the quiet repetition of habits that look harmless, but slowly steal your command over the mind. The first thing almost no one dares to name is the addiction to distraction. It wears 100 disguises, checking messages for just a second, the constant background noise of notifications, or the silent pact to never be alone with one's own thoughts. It's not the phone that enslaves the man, it's his inability to be still. Seneca once said that people are not stingy with money but with time, yet they spend hours of their lives without awareness. The modern form of slavery is voluntary, attention sold in fragments. He scrolls through endless faces and voices. His thumb pauses above send, hesitates, then moves again. The mind, once built for contemplation, now vibrates in reaction. Each ping becomes a command. Each silence feels like a void. The mechanism is simple. The brain's reward loops thrive on novelty, not nourishment. Like a man sipping salt water to quench his thirst, the more he consumes, the more barren he becomes inside. The Stoic move is radical simplicity. When Epictetus spoke of controlling impressions, he meant mastering what enters the mind before it becomes emotion. To act, not react. A modern Stoic doesn't throw away his phone. He reclaims the rhythm of his mind. He decides when to engage, when to observe, and when to withdraw. He learns to sit in silence until the silence no longer frightens him. From that moment, clarity returns, not as calm, but as control. Peace isn't the absence of noise, it's the ability to remain unmoved in the midst of it. A man who guards his focus becomes dangerous to the world's chaos. The stillness others call boring is, to him, the forge of power. And once he feels that interior order, he realizes how many of his past mistakes came from noise disguised as need. When he stops reacting, he starts choosing. And choosing, in Stoic terms, is the essence of freedom. Worse than that, a second pattern quietly erodes boundaries, the habit of emotional negotiation. He apologizes for existing, softens every statement, explains every silence. His self-worth hangs on whether others approve of his calm. This isn't humility, it's self-abandonment wearing politeness. Each time he over-explains, he trades a fragment of dignity for comfort. Over time, he forgets how it feels to simply be without justification. In psychological terms, this is the loop of external validation. When a man's inner compass depends on the reactions of others, he becomes predictable, and predictability is weakness. His peace becomes hostage to approval. A frown from a stranger can ruin his morning. A brief silence from a lover can rewrite his worth. He begins to mistake control for connection. The Stoic response is restraint, not reaction, to stand firm in value rather than chase it. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. That's not coldness, that's discipline. You don't owe anyone a constant explanation of your peace. In the end, the calm man who speaks little says more than the anxious one who pleads for understanding. He sits across from someone he once tried to impress. The coffee cools between them. This time, he doesn't fill the silence with justification. He simply listens. The other shifts, uncomfortable. That's when he realizes silence isn't passive. It's power measured in seconds. One punchline lands in his mind like truth carved in stone. The man who seeks constant approval has already surrendered his authority. Hold your response. The next shift turns apology into leverage. When silence becomes discipline, a third principle surfaces, one that separates those who drift through life from those who command it: the compulsion to overthink. He lies awake at night, revisiting every conversation, every glance, every word unsaid. His mind is a courtroom with no judge, only endless witnesses called to testify against him. He imagines what others must have thought, what he should have said, and what might go wrong tomorrow. The body lies still, but the mind burns. Overthinking is not intelligence. It's fear, disguised as control. It's the psyche's desperate attempt to manage uncertainty through analysis. The Stoics saw this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius warned that the mind becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When those thoughts spiral, they stain perception itself. The overthinker doesn't see reality. He sees reflections of his own anxiety. A phone glows faintly in the dark. A half-written message waits, unsent. The room is quiet except for the whisper of the mind, replaying an event that's already gone. The mechanism is simple. Fear wants to predict pain. The more you imagine, the safer you think you'll be. But in truth, the mind only multiplies suffering, once in reality, 1,000 times in imagination. The Stoic move is presence through limitation. You do not solve the future by dissecting it. You dissolve it by acting in the present. Epictetus taught that we own only our judgments, not their outcomes. The disciplined mind doesn't seek certainty, it seeks readiness. He asks, "What is within my control right now?" Then acts. One deliberate breath, one action, one release. That's all. It's not passivity, it's surgical focus. When thought becomes endless, you cut it at the root. Decision. A man stands at the window, dawn creeping through blinds. His problems remain, but the noise inside is gone. The decision is small: send the message, end the delay, begin the task. But the effect is vast. He realizes that peace isn't achieved by solving everything. It's achieved by refusing to fight what doesn't belong to him. Stillness is the courage to let the storm pass, without naming every drop. Deeper still, a fourth truth cuts through vanity: resentment. It begins as quiet comparison, the subtle thought that others have it easier, better, faster. Then it grows. The mind tallies unfairness, builds invisible ledgers, and demands repayment from a world that never borrowed from you. Resentment feels like justice, but it's poison served in your own cup. In psychological terms, resentment is repressed desire turned outward. What you envy, you secretly crave. What you hate, you fear you might never become. Seneca wrote that anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it. Resentment is anger's quiet twin. It corrodes from the inside, unseen but constant. A man scrolls through others' achievements, vacations, promotions, smiles. His jaw tightens. He tells himself he's just observing, but inside he's burning, not at them, but at the reflection of his own stagnation. The projection mechanism at work. The ego externalizes its disowned weakness onto others, so it can stay innocent. But innocence without self-honesty is illusion. The Stoic move is radical ownership. No excuses, no comparison. Every emotion is information about the self. The disciplined mind traces resentment back to its source, not to accuse, but to reclaim. What desire in me feels unmet, he asks, and from that question, power returns. The energy once wasted on bitterness becomes fuel for transformation. He closes the app, locks the screen. The silence feels heavy at first, then liberating. For the first time, he sees envy for what it truly is, admiration without courage. So he begins again, not by chasing others, but by refining himself. True strength doesn't compete, it cultivates. And cultivation, like discipline, is invisible until the harvest. Finally, a fifth. Quiet in words, vast in consequence, avoidance. Avoidance masquerades as peace, but it's only delay dressed in calm. It's the unread message, the unspoken truth, the relationship left to rot in silence because confrontation feels unsafe. The Stoics would call it cowardice of the soul, a refusal to meet reality head-on. He sees the message on the screen. He tells himself, later. Hours become days. Days become guilt. Avoidance teaches the heart one lesson, that fear is stronger than truth. And every time he submits to it, his confidence erodes a little more. The mechanism is subtle. Avoidance temporarily lowers anxiety, but it reinforces powerlessness. The brain rewards the escape, not the resolution. Over time, every small avoidance becomes a thread in the web of self-doubt. The Stoic move here is confrontation with gentleness, directness without aggression. Seneca reminded his students that it is not the man who is angry who is strong, but he who controls his anger. The same is true for fear. Courage doesn't mean absence of fear. It means obedience to truth, despite it. He walks to the mirror, breath steady, sends the message he's postponed. The relief is quiet, not triumphant. He doesn't need validation, just alignment. This is how power feels when it's reclaimed, understated, steady, unshakable. The habits are broken one by one, not by force, but by awareness sharpened into action. Distraction, over-apology, overthinking, resentment, avoidance. Each abandoned habit returns a fragment of sovereignty once lost to noise. Do not rush. The following move separates passivity from discipline. In the end, what destroys a life is rarely tragedy. It's repetition without reflection. The same reactions, the same stories, told beneath different faces. A man who doesn't examine his habits becomes a ghost inside his own existence. He functions, but does not live. The modern world rewards speed, not stillness. Yet every Stoic truth whispers the opposite. Stop running, or you'll never arrive. Now, look closely at the anatomy of change itself. It does not begin with insight. It begins with confrontation. The moment a person can no longer bear the gap between who they are and who they could be. Every habit we've named hides a refusal to confront something deeper. Distraction hides loneliness. Over-apology hides fear of rejection. Overthinking hides the terror of uncertainty. Resentment hides inadequacy. Avoidance hides shame. He sits in a dim room, only the hum of a city outside. A single notification lights up his phone, then fades. For once, he doesn't reach for it. He lets it fade to black. The silence becomes a mirror, and in that reflection, he sees himself, not as victim or savior, but as participant in every pattern he's ever cursed. This is the moment the Stoics revered, the birth of awareness through voluntary discomfort. They understood that suffering refines the soul when faced, but multiplies when fled. Epictetus taught that no man is free who is not master of himself. Modern psychology says the same through different words: self-regulation. The union of the two is mastery, not repression. He recalls every moment he surrendered to distraction, every time he apologized for existing, every night he rewound conversations in his head. None of it was weakness. It was untrained compassion, misplaced outward instead of inward. What he needed wasn't more forgiveness from others, but discipline with himself. One punchline slices through the fog. Freedom begins the moment you stop bargaining with your own mind. In practice, the Stoic move now becomes holistic, ordering the inner world so the outer cannot dictate its terms. He begins small. One deliberate morning without reaching for the phone. One boundary set without apology. One conversation ended without resentment. One task faced without avoidance. These aren't resolutions. They're rituals. Repetition of order until chaos bows. He learns what Seneca meant by to be everywhere is to be nowhere. Presence is not location. It's integrity. When the mind aligns with action, time slows. Even the mundane becomes sacred. The sound of water filling a glass, the feel of air through an open window, the pulse returning to its steady rhythm. Life no longer rushes past him. It flows through him. Discipline turns inward and reveals something softer beneath. Compassion, born of clarity. The Stoic path isn't cold detachment. It's emotional precision. You feel everything, but nothing owns you. The man once controlled by impulse now observes emotion the way a mountain watches clouds, passing, temporary, harmless. He stands at a doorway, light outlining his silhouette. The air smells of rain. Somewhere, a city hums, indifferent, eternal. Inside, he feels no need to rush into it. He has nothing to prove, nothing to chase, nothing to justify. The noise of the world is still there, but its hooks no longer find him. This is what modern men mistake for numbness. Serenity earned through structure. The absence of chaos is not emptiness. It is power. And power, when truly mastered, no longer announces itself. It simply exists, calm, deliberate, complete. The ancient Stoics understood that detachment was not withdrawal, but participation without corruption. To be in the world, yet unmoved by it. To love, yet remain free. To act with purpose, yet not demand reward. In psychological terms, this is individuation, the integration of shadow and light, emotion and logic, instinct and discipline. He no longer needs the world's permission to rest. He no longer seeks validation to feel worthy. His joy now comes not from approval, but from alignment. He acts because action itself is sacred. He speaks because truth requires a voice, not applause. A final punchline settles like dusk. Peace isn't given. It's built in silence, brick by disciplined brick. He looks at his reflection one last time. The same eyes, but something unrecognizable beneath. Calm intensity, unforced. This is the quiet victory the world will never applaud. Yet every wise soul recognizes the conquest of the self